Hey, thank you for joining us for the February edition of 3Squares. We are thrilled that you are here. We've got a great show again coming up for you. My name is Charlie Arnott with CFI and Look East. We are dedicated to keeping the food system trustworthy. And my two co-hosts, Susan Schwally and Kevin Ryan, if you would be kind enough to introduce yourselves.
Hi, Susan Schwally, the NPD Group plus IRI, soon to have a new name coming to you this month, where we are dedicated to understanding the food and beverage, CPG, and general merch universe of what consumers are doing and why.
Is Drippin' still in the running for the new name? Is that still?
If you look on LinkedIn, we have a lot of water, two rivers coming together, Charlie. So maybe we will be dripping insights.
For those that need a little bit of background, Charlie believes that they're going to take NPD and IRI and make an anagram of the two,
Right.
which is
Dripping insights.
They'll be dripping with insight.
Well, you know, the data platform is liquid data. So Charlie, you may be onto something.
I think Charlie's right.
I am
There
not
you go.
privy to the name yet.
All right.
All right, you heard it here first. Kevin.
That's right. Kevin Ryan, Malachi Strategy and Research, helping CPG and food retailers with the front end of strategy and innovation.
Excellent. And once again, our wunderkind, our favorite food scientist, cookbook author, and food expert extraordinaire, Kevin, has come up with a fabulous guest for today's show. So we will engage with this guest and kind of probe some of the things going on in this particular sector of the food system. And then, of course, we will conclude with another episode of What the Food. So,
All right.
Kevin, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We have Pete Speranza here today. So I have a quick bio of Pete, but Pete's going to probably give us a lot more detail. But Pete, for those of you that don't know, Pete is the CEO of Wicked Foods, which is a plant-based brand, which started in the UK, which I think Pete will give us a little bit of background of that. And he's now leading the company through a global expansion. Pete is also the operating venture partner at Unovis Asset Management, which is a fund that invests in alternatives and animal protein products and looks to target for higher impact growth for those type of companies. And then prior to that role, where Pete and I met, Pete was the co-founder and business development strategist at General Mills 301 Inc., which was the emerging brand elevator at General Mills. And Pete worked at General Mills for 23 years. So Pete, welcome to 3Squares.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for letting me join.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is great. But as I kind of started off there at the beginning, if you wouldn't mind, what is Wicked Foods or Wicked Kitchen? Which name do you go by?
Wicked Foods is the name of the company, but the name of the brand that's visible to consumers is Wicked Kitchen, and that's what we use globally as well.
Okay.
Yeah, let me give you a 2-second background on that. Most people probably don't even know this. It's actually a 10-year-old kind of mission company that's been built over time here. But 10 years ago, it was actually a blog. So it was called Wicked Healthy. It's a blog. It was created by two vegan chefs. There happened to be brothers, Derek and Chad Sarno. At the time, they were working at Whole Foods as corporate chefs and really doing training and everything else internally there. And they created this blog, and it was really to help consumers and friends and family and others just like get inspiration and really understand how to leverage plants more and more in their daily lives. They've always been advocates for the space. Obviously as vegan chefs, they ran restaurants before that and all that stuff. So they had tons of knowledge and they really wanted to share it. So it started out as a blog 10 years ago. And then fast forward 5 years ago, or 5 years later, Derek Sarno gets recruited by Tesco to come over to the UK and really start the brand there under a food brand called Wicked Kitchen. And Tesco really, finally takes the lead, I would say, because it's a retail that's probably not known for innovation or being the front of something, but in reality, they really did. And they really took their mission to heart. They leveraged Derek's expertise. He came into the company as a true culinary innovator in the plant-based space. He ended up running all their innovation for all their plant-based products in the store. But part of the mission was to bring his brand over Wicked Kitchen and actually get it started. And it turned into a juggernaut over in the UK. Then 4 years, it turned into a massive success and, the largest plant-based brand in the UK by far, even today. And then on top of that, then I came on board 3 years ago, really with, creating a more formal mission and really inspiration around what we're going to do globally by leveraging that great work in the UK and really think about all right, how do we launch this thing in the same way that it kind of took form and took shape in the UK, and how do we do that on a global scale? And that's exactly what I came in to do. So we built it into two things. One, and I'll end after the mission, and you can ask another question. But the mission is simple. The mission is around inspiring people to eat more plants, right? We're not going to be meat shamers. We're going to inspire people through, culinary really is where it's at. Kevin, you know this from the work that you've been doing for probably your whole career. To get to hearts and minds of people that change their habits, it's around craveable food, right? That just gets in your everyday routine. And that's what this brand at its very heart is around. I just want great tasting food that just happens to be made with plants. And I'm going to drive it through variety. And we're also going to be thought leaders in this space. So we're not just going to be ones, sharing food, but we're actually going to be right in the front and center of really changing, the hearts and minds of people through education and other ways to be a part of the community at large to really, change what's going on here with the food system, to what Charlie said earlier. So very excited in here to share even more, but that's kind of the story in a nutshell.
Yeah. Before everyone else jumps in, to that variety of food, can you give us a sense of what the portfolio? I know there's just you have a lot of SKUs, but like, what do you? What are the main portions of it?
Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story about that as well. In the UK, what they started with was in the fresh space of the store. Fresh in the UK is a larger part of the store than typically in the US, but in the UK, it was perfect way to start because it's traffic, a lot of trial. So it started in fresh. And then from there, Derek and the team over there really started thinking through, all right, if I'm a vegan, or if I want to move to a plant-based diet, I truly need variety. Like I don't walk in the door thinking about meat and dairy all day long. I want snacks. I want brownies. I want cookies. I want everything that you want in your normal life. You want a vegan version that you can trust, a trusted brand in that space. And that's truly what they created in the UK, to really have a trusted go-to brand in every single category in the store. From there, all the learning that we had in the last 4 or 5 years, because we have 110 SKUs actually in the UK in 16 different categories. But we're not going, 16 categories globally, right? We're going to just take those power ones, the ones that we know that truly resonate with those consumers. We have tons of data, tons of information. We're picking categories also that are just everyday food items that people put in their basket weekly, typically, and going, you know what, we can win there. We have a product that's amazing. We already have some great data in the UK to really drive it. So as you think about a store today, especially in the US, we focus a lot on meal solutions in the center of the store. There's not a lot of innovation there, especially in plant-based. So think about pantry stuffing things, cups that you add hot water, you can take to work and just have a real easy, convenient, meal that just happens to be made with plants once again. Then in the frozen side, because the US is a big frozen market, we launched pizzas, meals, ice cream. We're coming out with appetizers. We just bought Good Catch, so now we have a seafood offering actually in that space as well. And we really think that's where, the majority of our focus will be in the US for a while, because we know frozen, and even in this economic downturn, in a sense, people are going more and more to frozen actually in the store. So we'll really create a big presence, I would say, in the frozen set. But then we also lastly have amazing products in the bakery, and then impulse in the UK that just churn phenomenally well and are just delightful products. So we just can't wait to get those going in other parts of the world as well.
Pete, I
It's a
think
long
this
story,
is,
but
this is great. And it kind of like really dovetails with a question I was turning over in my mind. We've seen plant-based, kind of going through some downturn, if you will, when we kind of think mostly about like the all meat alternatives and different things. But you're approaching plant-based in such a broader, holistic way that I find really interesting. And so, I mean, that tells me a little bit. You've explained what does plant-based mean to Wicked Kitchen now, but like, what's the next step beyond this? Like, how do you keep this going?
I think what's interesting, especially in the US with plant-based, it was really around the ingredient companies, right? So the Beyond, Impossibles, Oatly, Kite Hills, a few others that made a few everyday products, but a lot of it was ingredients at the time. That was the major part of the focus. But once again, you weren't really getting the consumer's full basket when they walk in the door, because there wasn't variety, right? And that's what your point, we're bringing a different approach. We're actually a food company, not an ingredient company.
Mhm.
We bring tons of variety to the plate here. It's all about culinary first. It just happens to be with plants. So we don't talk a lot about the ingredients. We don't talk a lot about, that we're a plant-based company. We're just a great tasting food company that happens to be made with plants, right? And we keep that attitude through the brand, through all the stuff that we do online, visuals, training, cooking, in-store, out-of-store, all that stuff, right? So that's been kind of the differentiator. Now, back to the industry for a second. You hit the nail on the head. I think overall, just my learning from being a part of this industry for a long, long time, we overhyped those ingredient companies as a global, I'll call financial community, right? We treated them like they're tech companies. We treated them like the multiples were going to be way out there, and they're like, no, they're actually food companies. What are we doing? And that overhype that happened in the last 5-7 years, you're feeling a little bit of that noise now, going like, whoa, why aren't they so successful? It's like, actually they are successful and they've been growing like a weed, but not to the pace that some of the investors probably thought, because of the high valuations that people were giving back then. So there's going to be a little bit of a consolidation in the market, a little bit of a reset, but it's normal, right? If you look at the auto industry and the electric car industry, you'd say the same thing 5 years ago. You were like, I don't know if Tesla's going to make it. And then they started getting a lot more traction, but then the bigger companies start going, I'm coming for the ride. I see it. And you're going to see a wave of change here in the next 2 years, right? In electric cars and driving. But it was a combination of going through a little bit of an up and down period about 5 years ago, and get regulations on track, get other people educated enough to really say, yeah, consumers are there to go. And we feel the same in plant-based. It's just getting started, to be honest with you.
Is there anyone you're watching in your rear view mirror? And I have someone in mind in the frozen space, and I'm curious what you'd say. Is there any brand out there that you like are really?
As a competitor, you're saying, it's a little bit, I don't see truly in the plant-based space, there's truly nobody like us. So I truly believe we're building new ground. We got that success in the UK early. The UK market's probably 2 years ahead of the US from a plant-based perspective. So it's kind of fun to see what the future is going to look like in the US by watching what's going on over there a bit. But no, and I see a few brands like maybe Tattooed Chef, just because they're a little bit more on that culinary bend, and they come with variety that could be a competitor per se. But no, I truly don't see a true competitor right now. In the Beyonds and Impossibles, they have 5 meat SKUs or whatever, right? And that's not who we are. So I see them as collaborators, not really competitors. To be honest with you.
I've got a couple of questions. I'm going to try to get a 2-for-1 if I can. I'm fascinated when you were talking about impulse. I think that's really interesting. I love the way you opened talking about the fact that it's all coming through a culinary approach. It's all about taste. It's about flavor. It's about good food first, and then it happens to be plant-based. So tell me a little bit about the impulse, and then also, how does Good Catch fit into the overall strategy? Is that help me understand how you integrate that? So it's about impulse, and then how does Good Catch fit into your longer term strategy?
Yeah. Just a quick history on myself. When I was part of that 301 Inc. team at General Mills, I actually put an investment from General Mills into Good Catch. I was actually on the Good Catch board for 2 years. So when I knew the background and really what that company was about, so I had some real good insight, right, of what it was. But more importantly, the 2 chefs we talked about, Derek and Chad Sarno, they're also the founders of Good Catch. So Derek went to Wicked in the UK. Chad stayed in the US and ran Good Catch with a leadership team that they built around it and started building momentum. But as I looked at it through my M&A kind of lens, I was like, you know what? There's 2 things going on. One is it's very accretive to our mission, right? We're not doing seafood. It doesn't overlap with anything we're doing. So it's very additive to what we do. And we're a culinary or a category agnostic kind of brand. So having even Wicked in seafood wouldn't be a big change. We'll just bring culinary to it, right? So our crab cakes and our everyday fish sticks and things like that are actually very exciting for us. But it's very accretive to what we do. But also then you have the 2 brothers now come together and now can work together every day, which is quite exciting, right? To have 2 of the founders that kind of were working on 2 separate things now can come back together and actually really drive the mission and the education side of it and the culinary side piece of it. So that's been amazing. But back to what I was mentioning around the industry and the overhype, as I was looking at a seafood, even with General Mills eyes, I was like, you know what, not going to grow as fast as you think, but there is a plant-based seafood option that is needed, right? But it's not going to move as quickly because there's a health angle that consumers see in meat that they don't see in fish, in a sense of why I'm going to maybe move over to plant-based version. And you're it's not that it's not going to happen, it's just a longer trajectory, right, for it to change. And I was like, I don't know if one single company in seafood could really kind of survive the ups and downs of that as that builds, because it's just a long trajectory, right? But inside of a company with a lot of variety, it could thrive. And that's what we're super excited about, of having it a part of our portfolio of great ingredients and great products.
So
Excellent.
you're both retail as well as food service. And you've made some moves in food service, right? And like, it's so interesting when we saw like Impossible Burger launch, they used food service to get their attention. But can you talk a little bit about the role of food service in your, in your strategy and kind of how you think about that as a manufacturer, both sides?
Yeah. What's been fun about food service is, if you think about 2-3 years ago, even when I came on board for Wicked, it was during COVID. There was stadiums that might be playing games that there was nobody in the seats, right? So they weren't thinking about innovation or food or, what should they do now? But now that everybody's kind of out of that, all those same vendors and Airmarks and Cisco's and others have the same mission as a lot of the retailers have, which they want more plant-based on their menu because it reduces their carbon footprint. Like, that's true a motivator to get on shelf in a sense, in a lot of ways for retailers, but it's the same for food service. And if you can bring, once again, culinary to it and have a craveable product on your menu and it's turnkey, even better, right? And that's what we bring to the table. As the Timberwolves here in Minneapolis, which we have a concession stand there, and we do a meatball sub, a burger, Italian sausage and things like that. And we have our ice creams there. But more importantly, we actually created all the menu items and all the ingredients that go in every single one to create the experience, right? And that's what the culinary team over at the Target Center is like. I don't know how to really work with plants that well. Like I've been cooking animal protein forever. Like, I need help, and we could come in and now train and really get them to understand how to make a craveable product. And David Fema, that runs the culinary team over there, I don't know if you know him or not, but he's a pretty famous chef in Minneapolis here. He just fell in love with Chad as they were talking about, it's like one of those, if you have two doctors talking to each other and you can see they're clicking, right? You have two chefs doing the same thing. And all of a sudden, David Fema, that runs the culinary side of the Timberwolves and the Target Center, he's just like, I'm in. So that was just another check for us to go like, all right, the chef's already there. So I worked with the business team and we got it all in. But the point is, people are looking for craveable options. They still want to celebrate at stadiums and other places when they go there for music events and others. But to not have any of these options is crazy, right? So we're coming with that same culinary flair where, our ice creams are being sold in there, and they're the only ice cream at the stadium now. They took the dairy ice cream out and actually just put our ice cream in, because they're like, dairy eaters of ice cream are going to have a great experience. And the folks that actually have allergies or other things actually now have a go-to that they never had before. And now the supply chain only has one ice cream, not two. So we really love to think of ourselves as a replacement, not an alternative, with the type of food that we create.
I always think it's interesting to see that you can tell a lot from a company by what their founders originally were. And the fact that the chef component of it, the culinary component of it versus, I know there's others in the space that are more scientifically or marketing or say, what I mean? Totally. And so it's really interesting that the culinary part is a constant thread through everything that you do.
And that they know what goes on in the back of the house, because right now with, of course, labor issues, it's got to be easy, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're looking at all those angles to your point. So it's truly turnkey, because they're thinking of all the different, how hard it is to make sure everything can come frozen, have a little bit of shelf life, can hold under heat, lamps and things like that. I mean, they're truly thinking through everything through and through. And it's because they've already ran their own restaurants too. So they have a lot of experience in that space as well. But one of the things I think that's unique about it, back to this culinary for just a quick second, is our ice creams are made with lupini bean. And actually, Kevin, back in our General Mills days, if I would have went to Haagen-Dazs and said, can you launch a lupini bean ice cream? I think it's amazing ingredient. It's a great, they'd be like, no way. That's a small idea, small product. How are we going to educate consumers, things like that. But we look at it as our chefs are looking for the best ingredients in the world to create the ice cream experience that we want. And it just happens to be lupini bean as the ingredient, right? So we don't talk about lupini bean, but it created the best experience as we looked at all different ingredients that we'd want in our ice cream. And that's the difference between now that becomes a big idea versus if I was at General Mills, they probably would have kicked me out of the room and said, you're crazy. But so long story short, that's kind of the culinary side of thinking about food. You know, you're looking for the best ingredients for the chefs to use, and that's what we're doing.
So let me go back to the business piece of it. Speaking to somebody in the VC community several weeks ago, and he said, the faucet is turned off, right? For alt products,
Yeah.
it's just very difficult. You mentioned they were overhyped. There are people that are thinking the category is on its last breath, and yet you just finished a round of funding. And
About a year
you
ago.
talk about a very different approach here for Wicked. So what's the future look like from your perspective, and not just for Wicked, but what do you think for the category?
Yeah, and what I was mentioning a little bit earlier. I mean, it's a tighter market for sure. People are worried about profitability a lot sooner than they used to in startups and growth companies. So there's a little bit different conversations going on for sure when you're coming to look for funding. To your point, the hype was really on those ingredient companies, and whoever went in there probably feel like they're a little bit burnt. But once again, I personally feel like they put too much pressure on that thing moving as quickly as it can. You got to go at the pace of the consumer adoption, and I think that the financial community almost wanted to push it harder, and it didn't go as quickly as they probably wanted to. But it's still growing, right? Impossible's growing 50% plus this past year. I mean, so the ingredient companies are still growing at a higher pace than most competitors in the other animal kind of sectors and stuff like that. But long story short, what we're trying to do is, just really separate ourselves from that, though, because we are just an amazing food company, right? I don't want to get caught up as I'm an plant-based ingredient company. I'm just a great food company. Plus, we have the history of the UK. So obviously, for any other new entrepreneur looking at it, you got to get some proof in the pudding, right? So you can present to financial investors, some legitimacy in a sense of like consumers' reaction or churns and things like that. So as we're going to the market for it, we're leaning a lot on our 5-year history in the UK, a year and a half now in the US. Nationally, right? We're in 9,000 stores now in the US in 18 months. So now every week that we get new information, obviously that helps build the case, for more funding as we, because we're not profitable yet, but we're obviously chasing that. So yeah, that it's a harder story though, if you're a younger company brand, or if you're truly probably in the meat or dairy side of plant-based, you're going to have a hard time finding funding. It's just a matter of fact. So this is where I see consolidation probably happening a little bit, which could just strengthen the category, which I'm almost more excited about, because I think that's where it's going to drive the true growth. Having stronger companies or better positioned companies, or maybe some people that came off shelf. So then the stronger companies could actually have more room to grow.
Yeah, I think that seems like a logical evolution of the category. We're going to see some consolidation, some integration that'll take place. Some will be washed out, and those who are left will be the survivors that will take the category forward.
Yeah. Because the consumers, once again, we're scratching at the surface here, right? If I had a crystal ball after watching what's going on in the UK, I'd be like, there's a lot going on there in the next 2 years in the US, and it's going to be way different than it is today, but it's going to be stronger and bigger than it is now. And then I get a chance, because we just launched in Thailand as well, to look at the Asian market, and that it's probably 5 years behind the UK. And but their government and other folks there are reshaping kind of the way people are thinking about food, and that's it's going to be a very big market there too for plant-based over the next 10 years or so. So
yeah.
So globally, there's a lot of room to grow.
That's interesting though, the idea, because you think of most Asian cooking and you think it's very plant-based. That you think that it already is, but it's interesting that you have to kind of there's a lot of the meat is the focus. That's interesting. Yeah.
And what's cool about it is they, for the Asian market in general, and I spend more time in Thailand than almost anywhere else over there, but they listen to their government. They listen to science. So I see them moving quicker actually than maybe even the US, where 50% of the people are kind of like, I don't know if anything's going on in the world. And it's like, like there's a reason why. Maybe the ice caps are melting quicker than we want them to, or whatever. So I see some of those parts of the world moving probably even faster than the US, but the US is still moving that way. It's just not talked about as publicly as some of the other places.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Well, Pete, thank you so much. It was great to have you on 3Squares. We look forward to following your success. And I think the culinary strategy is very, very interesting. I really appreciate you spending a little time with us today.
Yeah, we'll have to get
awesome,
you
yeah.
back like in another year.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I'd love to join you again. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin.
And
Thank you
Charlie.
too for reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. And
He was
Charlie and
he was a
Susan-
good catch, Kevin. A good catch.
Oh, very good.
Oh, Charlie.
Yes.
Oh,
If Charlie and Susan, if you haven't had the lupini bean, as Pete was talking about ice cream, it is amazingly good.
I-
It
I'm
is
not, but
really
in
good.
doing a
I'm
little
going to
research
hunt it
today,
down, Pete.
I know exactly where I can find it, and it's very close to our house at Sprouts.
Yep.
Send me a note after you try it, because everybody goes like, yeah, let me see. And then when they try it, they're like, oh.
Can I
Yeah.
get it online? Maybe through Amazon?
Not yet. Not yet. Only our ambient products you can get from Amazon.
Is it in
but,
Meyer?
It's in Meyer.
Okay,
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
find
Seven-
it.
You can
7 different
find a
products.
store locator on their website, Susan.
I know I already put my store in.
Globally.
I did. I can't have dairy, Pete, so you might become my new.
Oh yeah. Once you have this
Hero.
as your go-to. This is
Okay.
your go-to.
I'm
It
on
will
it.
be. It will be. All
Awesome.
right, Charlie.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks, Pete.
absolutely.
Appreciate it.
And Pete, you can stick around and play the game because
Oh, cool.
Charlie and Susan they're neck and neck here. So
That's
you
right.
can-
That's right.
Yeah.
So, what the food?
What the food?
You're up, Kevin.
All right. Well,
So just imagine the
sw-
theme from Rocky is
yeah,
playing in the background as Kevin
right.
introduces this segment of what
well,
the food.
it's kind of a switch here, but I was looking at the dates and everything, and it was like, well, Valentine's Day's over and da
Yeah,
da
yeah.
da. So I was like, what is it? And I looked at the calendar, and almost every day on the United States calendar is like a day of whatever. So today
Yeah.
is the National Tortilla Chip Day. If you didn't know
Aha.
this, yes.
Whoa.
So tortilla chips, it's kind of narrow. So I thought instead I'd go a little bit bigger and chip and dip, which I later found out the
Oh.
chip and dip day is actually in March.
I didn't know
I
there
thought
was
you
a
were
chip
gonna
and
go
dip day.
Punchki.
There is. Oh, punchkis are passed.
I know.
Punchkis are passed. Okay, so this is a chip and dip quiz. So what do you know
Okay.
about chips and dips? Okay, so this is multiple
shoot.
choice.
I like them.
Okay, here we go. Okay,
All right.
number one, what was the first flavor of flavored potato chips beyond just salt, right? That was commercially produced. Was it A, barbecue, B, cheese and onion, C, salt and vinegar, or D, malt vinegar?
So, in which market are you talking globally?
Globally. Like the first
Globally.
time anyone ever seasoned a potato chip that they sold commercially.
Malt vinegar.
Yeah, I'm going to go with malt vinegar.
All right.
Salt and
B,
vinegar.
salt and vinegar. You're all wrong. It's B, chease and onion. So cheese
No
and onion.
way.
Cheese and
It
onion.
was invented in 1954 by Joe Spud Murphy. And there's still the Irish Potato Crisp Company, Tato, if you've ever seen that. Him and his employee, Seamus Burke, which is a very Irish name,
Yes.
produced the first seasoned potato chip, cheese and onion. Cheese and onion.
Hmm.
See, I was
Yeah.
thinking you were going to say sour cream and onion. That was like my guess.
I know.
That's
Nope,
not,
nope.
or an early one, is it?
No, no,
No,
no.
it makes my stomach hurt just to think about it.
Of cheese and onion or salt?
No, 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 no.
and
Sour
onion?
cream and onion because
cream and onion.
I like it. I have a hard time saying no.
I see.
So-
You eat too much.
Eat a lot of it.
All right. So still tied here. All right, number two. This is
Because
true
no
or
one
false.
got it right.
No one got it right.
Generous.
I'm
You're
trying
very,
to keep.
you're very positive, Kevin. I appreciate it. Still tied here because
You're a
none of you
giver.
know anything.
Still zeros.
So,
Because
yeah.
nobody's gotten it.
Okay.
Okay, this is true or false. Tortilla chips and salsa are a traditional snack or pre-dinner, pre-meal appetizer in Mexico. True or false?
I'm going to say
Mm.
false.
I'm going to say false as well. Maybe ceviche,
say it's
but
American
maybe not
thing.
salsa.
Pete?
I'm gonna go opposite. See if maybe I win here. True.
So it is false. So Charlie and
All right.
Susan got it. So yeah, tortilla chips and salsa, or tortilla chips in general, really, are not traditionally eaten in Mexico. They were actually invented in 1940s by a woman named Rebecca Webb Carranza in LA when she was seeing all the rejected tortillas coming out of the automated tortilla factory, and she thought, hey, I could use these for
She's
our
upcycling.
That's
delicacies.
some raw material.
Exactly. It was upcycling. Yeah. So
Yes.
the whole idea of eating chips and salsa before a meal, that's a total American thing. That's a
Yeah,
total
that
American.
makes sense.
Funny.
But it
Old El
clearly better
Paso,
than most
probably.
of the upcycled stuff that I've
That's
had.
it. Exactly. Yeah.
Which is like scrapings out of a garbage disposal. So this is a
Right.
much better option.
All
Carla.
right. Three. There's 5 questions. So 3.
Okay.
According to a 2013 survey by Tostitos and
Mhm.
Ketchum Research, what percentage of men say they double dip at parties?
Oh, like
Is it-
80%. Oh,
Is it A, 9%, B, 23%, C, 46%, or D, 72%?
this
gonna
is
go-
this is claimed.
Say, yeah, that they actually admit to this.
I'm going to go to
Admit to
40. I'm going to go 46.
Susan,
I'm going the highest number.
72. Okay.
Yeah, I'm 72 too.
All
72.
right. Charlie got it. It's C. It's 46%. And 32% of females say that they double dip, which is interesting because the follow-up question is 54% state that they would not consume a dip after seeing someone else dip.
That is so classic. That is so classic. That's perfect, right?
Awesome. All right.
Were
Well,
these guys interviewed by themselves or did they have their wives next to them?
Yeah.
'Cause
yeah,
that's the
exactly.
answer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I
All
think
right.
Susan and I were right, actually.
Yeah. So
See,
I
you know it's
believe
higher. You know it
Charlie's
is.
up. Charlie's up now. Charlie,
There we
you're
go.
up. All right.
Oh.
Number 4. Guacamole is one of the most popular dips in the US. However, avocados have not always been common on the US table. Part of this may have something to do with their name. Prior to the early 20th century, what were avocados marketed as? Were they called A, green goblins, B, Mexican turnips, C, alligator pears, or D, buttermelons?
Buttermelon?
Is that your answer?
No. I'm asking. That was that.
Buttermelons. Yeah.
Buttermelons.
Wait, I'm stuck on alligator pears.
So
Did
was
you
it
say
green
alligator
goblins?
pears?
Yeah, green goblins, Mexican turnips, alligator pears, or buttermelons?
I think it's A. I'm jumping in. Sorry.
Green goblins. Okay, Pete's
I'm
going
going
green goblins.
Mexican turnips.
I'm going
Okay.
alligator pears.
Charlie is right. It's
Oh,
alligator
shoot.
pears.
Dang it.
Avocados
Man.
were called alligator pears because of their bumpy skin. However,
Yes.
the California Avocado Growers Exchange, the trade group, in 1927, totally like revoked that. They said, no, it's hurting sales. And it took them a couple years. They tried to call it the butter pear or the avocado pear before they landed on avocado.
So, but Kevin, didn't I read the Haas avocado was like literally planted by a guy who was like a postal worker?
He was a
who,
mail.
like-
Yeah.
was a mail-
He was a mailman. Yep,
Yeah.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. It was his hobby.
So
And
is that a special variety of avocado or is it just
Yes.
a brand? It is
no,
a special
it's a
variety.
special variety. So Haas avocado is the variety you think of when you normally think of that. There's a couple of others that you
It's
probably
like the
have seen.
Cavendish.
It is of bananas.
avocados.
Yes, it is.
So
of
when I
avocado.
wasn't feeling well earlier this week, I watched Deadpool 2 again. And they mentioned that they thought that Ryan Reynolds' face looked like the skin of an avocado.
Well,
And so that was the alligator kind of.
alligator pear.
There you go.
Exactly.
It always
so
comes
that-
back to Ryan Reynolds for you.
It does. It does.
does.
Pete,
Yeah,
you need to know
obsessed.
that
I'm
Charlie
obsessed.
selected Ryan Reynolds as the actor to play him in a biopic.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Now
can see that.
now that we say that, yeah, you can see
Thank
it.
you.
You see it
Appreciate that.
now.
You can
Pete.
see it. You can see it. All
Sorry,
right.
this side.
Last question. And
Okay.
Charlie, you're up. You got two.
Wait, he's up by how
Right.
many? Do we have
Two.
By two.
Can
I'm
Pete
up
and
by
I-
2.
Two?
I'm-
We can't.
ball.
Pete and I
I'm
fight
out.
the
I
ball.
think I'm out.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Which of the following recipes were not included in the 1974 edition, which I have back here, of the Better Homes and Garden Easy Recipes for Entertaining Cookbook?
You wrote that, right?
No, not in 1974. I'm not that old.
Kevin's cookbook.
Was it-
I keep it on my desk.
Here's
at all
Kevin.
times.
Show Kevin
So-
when he was 12. He wrote the cookbook.
Yeah, I was 12.
Yeah.
Okay, was it, which of these is not?
Not.
Not in
Not.
the-
Not
Was
not
it
in 1974. Okay.
A, curry pineapple dip, B, oyster cheese appetizer log,
Oh God.
C, Polynesian pork and pineapple dip, or D, German beer cheese spread?
What's the first one again?
First one.
Curry pineapple dip.
I'm
Yeah,
going
that
with
wasn't
that
in
one.
there.
Curry
Yeah.
curry was not
Yeah.
it was
Okay,
unfit
Charlie, you
to
said
do it.
curry pineapple dip. What did you say, Susan?
I'm saying the same thing.
Curry. All right.
Because I
Pete,
can't win
I'll do
anyway.
3. I'll do the third one.
The gross, is that
Polynesian.
the gross
Pete,
oyster one?
Pete, you're right. It's
He got
right.
the
Polynesian.
Okay, so that was also
Polynesian
an
was
exotic- that
not
was
in there, which
exotic.
I know the 70s was all about Polynesian, but that was not the
Yeah.
one. Curry pineapple dip was there, as was oyster cheese appetizer
That's
log.
That made me.
wow.
That was so gross that I thought you probably
Spit
couldn't
up.
have made it up. So I
Exactly.
thought that one
Yeah.
was just, it had to be there, kind of like
Oyster-
aspic.
oyster
So
cheese
Charlie's up by 1, but Pete was neck and neck there.
There we
So
go.
Came at-
And
Yeah,
Susan again.
Could you scan in that oyster cheese log recipe for me?
I can for you. I can do that for you.
Got some family gatherings coming.
Yeah, family that you clearly don't like.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
No
That's a good
question.
way to get him out
I
of there.
clearly don't like.
Hey, all right.
That's
Thank you,
funny.
Thanks for
everybody, for
playing.
joining us again for another
No, thank
fabulous
you.
edition of 3 Squares. Very much appreciate it. You can send us an email if you'd like to at 3squaresmail@gmail.com. That's the numeral 3 squares mail written out at gmail.com. We'll be happy to reply to that. If you've got suggestions for guests or other topics you'd like us to cover or things you would like to ask our resident expert, Kevin, just send us a note and we'll go from there.
Wait, Charlie, we had a question.
We had a question?
Can you spell out the name of the bean ice cream? So it's Wicked Foods. It's,
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, you have a
Pete?
question?
Yeah, about
how
your,
do you
how do you
spell
spell it?
lupini?
There's two spellings to it. It's L-U-I or L-U-P-I-N, or L-U-I or P-E-N, E at the end. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Lupin or
L-U-P-I-N or L-U-P-I-N-E.
E. Yeah, there's
Yes.
two spellings for it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
unfortunately, my computer's a bit wonky, so I'm not seeing my full screen. I've got a little teeny tiny window. So
Sorry, I
thank you,
just
Susan.
noticed
No,
it,
no,
but
no.
I
That's
just wanted
no.
to, yeah.
have a listener
There's the
question
catch.
as we speak.
As we speak, real time.
It's so exciting.
Right.
Someone's actually listening. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's
All
a
right.
good question.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you.
Take
All right.
care.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you. Bye.
Bye.